BIP of Bizarre Interest Production here, and if you're a fan of the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, you've probably asked yourself, wouldn't it have made sense if this character dueled instead of this other character? Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole has had some issues with its character balance, and while the newer series have gotten better after the change from Studio Gallop to Bridge, sometimes I ask, why did this character get a duel over the other ones? So for this list, we're taking a duel between two characters and replacing one of the duelists with another character that makes more sense. I'm going to try to restrict myself to 2 duels per season, because there's one season in particular where you can make an entire top 10 on their own, and if you know, you know. So let's get started. Coming in on number 10 is Taya versus Johnny Steps in place of Yugi versus Johnny Steps. So out of the duels from the original series, I can see some people going, why this one? And it's honestly pretty simple. In the manga, Anzu, or Taya in the dub, defeated Johnny in a dance game, and the anime added an episode of him wanting revenge for his loss. So you'd think because he wants to take revenge on Taya, he dueled Taya, right? No, he duels Yugi instead for some reason and quits once he realizes this. Honestly, just give the duel to Taya. She already has a perfect win record, and since Johnny's okay at the game, it'd give her a valid win without a caveat and be more of an even back and forth. Plus, she's far from the only female duelist we'll be talking about that was snubbed off a duel. Speaking of which, in 9th place, we have Aki or Akiza in the dub versus Rudolph. So on a certain shirt, I ranked all the lead female characters, and someone asked why Akiza was only number 2 and not number 1. Now, part of that was basically Roman's only weak arc was 5, while Aki didn't get to do much in seasons 3 and 4. And honestly, this would have been a good fit. Aki had finally accumulated back to society and school, with her and the twins dealing with their principal, trying to expel a bunch of students using low-level monsters. And she stands up for them. So she gets to duel. Wait, you say duels her principal to determine when they get expelled because he was there when Aki's trying to be a leader and earning respect after recovering from the Dark Signers? Yeah, why not just give Aki the duel? It makes way more sense instead of just giving Yusei one of 100 billion duels after Season 2. Number 8 is coincidentally coming from Series 8, Go Rush, Yuhi versus Domokita Memembe. So I wasn't sure whether or not to include Go Rush on this list because while it's not over yet, there are some characters I can't tell are getting another duel. And Memembe is one of them because this is a duel a lot of people were surprised didn't happen. Like, Yuhi and Memembe got along pretty well. Yuhi's deck is made out of toy animal machines, while Memembe is built off play kits. And Yuhi mourns when Memembe is frozen. So why did they give this duel to Manya instead? Well, there are a few reasons. The first is that by making Manya come off as a jerk making fun of his hobbies, you make Memembe feel more sympathetic, but the other reason is with Go Rush and Sevens, they do a better job of balancing the cast. For example, after Arc 1, Udius usually gets 2 to 3 duels in Arc, and given the stakes, he had one against Ishida and the final battle, Yuamu had hers with Zuijo and later the Yeti, and Yui had one earlier in the same against Asaka and later one against Zuijo. So, while I see why they didn't want to give him another duel, this one probably would have helped his character as well, and also made you feel more bad for the situation. For number 7, I'm going with Roa versus Kaizo in place of Luke versus Kaizo. So, picking a Sevens duel was pretty hard because Sevens did something most Yu-Gi boomers are afraid to admit, in that they handled the cast, women, and pacing better than most of the previous series. But one duel I replaced the character is Luke versus Kaizo. While the duel is funny and will forever get the switch from the well-funded Studio Bridge to the understaffed and underfunded Studio Gallop meme, I think the problem is a lot of people were upset Geta and Ushiro followed Kaizo, but instead of Roa dueling to get them back, Luke does the work. I was fine with it, but in the finals, Roa dueled Roman and people were upset Roa lost despite finally treating his teammates with respect. So having Roa duel Kaizo in place of Luke using all 3 of his aces in tandem would have made more sense for Roa's development and made Roa and Roman not be so divisive, since Roman already had more development given what happened to her against Yuga earlier in the arc. Number 6 is Hassleberry versus Prince Ojin in place of Jaden versus Prince Ojin. So GX might be the biggest victim of this problem amongst the 8 Yu-Gi-Oh series, and we'll get to the biggest offender in that series because I can make a whole season with those type of changes. Let me know if you want that in the comments. But I wanted to pick a duel where it made sense for another GX main character, but Jaden had taken that duel instead. So I picked Tyranno versus Prince Ocean. So why this one? Because Tyranno basically took over Bastion's role as a Tristan of the season. And in the finale, while Jaden is dueling Sartorius, Prince Ocean has control of the satellite, and while Jaden duels him, Prince is able to get the satellite reactivated, but Hasselberry is able to fight him and smash the satellite controls. And in the proper finale, he creates a spirit form to go into space and dismantle the satellite with Glow Neos. So if he has a big role in the finale, why not just have him fight Prince Ocean in place of Jaden? Jaden's dueling Sartorius, Aster has Sartorius and the D, Chaz and Alexis get freed, the Truesdale brothers have their duels, so we might as well give Hasselberry a final battle in the season since he's not doing much next season. Though, what's a duel a protagonist should have had that was given to someone else? Coming in fifth place is Playmaker versus Robopi from Vrains in place of Soulburner versus Robopi. So, Vrains in character balance isn't great at times, but given Season 3 had to be short given the production and behind-the-scenes issues, one duel I was surprised by was Soulburner versus Robopi. The duel was fun for the most part, and you really feel bad as Robopi's programming was starting to crash from the data. Plus, I'll give credit for them blaming Taku for Flame's death, and even in a dub, they made Robopi not want to hurt them so much that Playmaker asked for the mercy kill. But given that Robopi is Yusaku's cleaning droid machine, not only would it have made more sense to have him duel the being that's arguably been by his side longer than Kusanagi and actually struggle to finish him off. This isn't me hating on Soulburner. I feel like I can like one character while criticizing how the writing team didn't make the story make all that sense, so everyone got moments like these. But I genuinely felt bad for them, and Playmaker using this loss to further prepare him for the final battle would have worked really well. Number 4, Rio and Shark versus Abyss. Now, we're generally at the duels that make me question what on earth were the writers thinking. So in Season 5, we get the Legendary Numbers arcs related to the human lives of the 7 Barian Emperors before they were killed and converted into Barians. So the crew meet Abyss, who has Abyss Splash and Crystal Zero. So of 2 numbers for Rio and Shark, you'd think they'd come together and join forces against them, get their respective numbers, and come to terms with their roles as Barians like they do later on, and it'd make the final wall of the Legendary Numbers a big deal, right? Well, instead, Abyss possesses Rio and has her use his card, while Shark gives Rio his card. Given both of them were having visions of their past lives, honestly, it would have been better had they played on their past lives about to die and they talk about losing Rio. Change the duel so it's a tag match between Rio and Shark versus Abyss, where Rio goes in defense and nearly dies, saving them from defeat with her new number, so Shark goes on the attack with his new number. There's a great way to have them both involved in getting their own numbers through replicating their past, but surviving and earning their numbers card instead of Shark just doing it for both of them, and then Rio ends up in a comatose for most of the rest of the season, even though this should have been her time to get more duels. Number 3, Yuzu and Reira versus Zark from Arc 5. Now, this isn't changing how the Zark duel ends, but how the Bracelet Girls were handled in Arc 5 were disappointing, since only one of them ends up playing a role despite them reviving Rei, and Yuzu versus Yuya being hinted at from the start. Zark's super duel could have worked with just a bit of reworking, but the Bracelet Girls definitely should have played a part, including Yuzu. Honestly, you could have had Rei use their powers to have Rei fully resurrect, but let's Yuzu synchronize with her and work with the spirits of the other girls to purify Yuya, since the Bracelet Girls were revealed to have the power to save and help Zark do their past incantations. And given that he took over Yuya after Yuya absorbed the souls of the other 4, it would have made the duel between Yuya and Yuzu from episode 2 come full circle. You just need to include Yuzu in the duel instead of just letting everyone else do the work as well. Coming in number 2 is Blue Girl versus Blue Shepherd from Vrains over Ghost Girl versus Blue Shepherd. Now, looking back, I have no idea why this duel didn't happen. Now, Blood Shepherd isn't the problem. Having him as a facilitator for a lot of characters' development and growth actually works really well for Soulburner, Ghost Girl, and even himself. But given that he just defeated Ghost Girl while Blue Girl went to get Aqua when he was after the Ignis, it's honestly such a waste we didn't get Blue Girl have her first win by battling Blood Shepherd in her place to acquire Aqua. Aqua could even see through the duel that Aoi's bravery was what inspired Miyu and led to her creation, thus resulting in her becoming Blue Maiden the same way after the duel, but with a win to earn that. Heck, when you look at Season 2, Team Ignis coexistence all comprised of 3 humans who worked with Ignis and do Blood Shepherd, except for Oi. So the fact that this duel didn't happen despite it being in the cards is just completely weird, and it really takes the number 2 choice on this list. And if you already know by process of elimination, you can already get a good hint on what number 1 is going to be. Number 1. So let me set the stage for you. You establish a girl who's pretty powerful and seen as a strong force, but also has a sweet side, including trying to find her missing sibling. Then halfway through, you encounter a series of powerful figures, one of which is a masked figure targeting you and your friends, and during their encounter, you find out, gasp, that's her missing brother possessed by darkness. Do you A, have the girl confront her sibling in a duel? B, start the duel, have the reveal take place, and she steps in to try to make it either a 2v1 again alongside her friend? Or C, have the brother target the other duelist first and have another character lose to hype him up after the reveal so she can take him on? Or you could do D, give it to the main character who's never even met the brother while the girl is left fighting an antagonist from earlier in the season who wanted revenge on the main character, but they have to be loosely tied because he took her brother's memories. Yeah, number 1 on this list goes to Alexis versus Nightshroud in place of Jaden versus Nightshroud. If you had any duel in GX that made the most sense to happen but just didn't in Season 1, it's easily this one. And I've heard the arguments, they didn't know it was Atticus, then the duel should have been placed later so you have more of an impact. Out of the Shadow Riders, Nightshroud, Camula, and Omniel were treated in the story as the most dangerous out of the 7. So they could have either had them going around attacking other students first to show the threat, and the Queen of Obelisk naturally would step up to the plate, then barely put out the win and save her brother like she wanted to in what was established since the beginning of the series. In fact, we've got a tie for first place with Atticus versus Society of Light Alexis. Going to talk about Season 2 here, where Alexis gets turned into a member of the Society of Light, and then only has 1 duel before being freed by Jaden. That just sounds kind of lame, don't you think? Yeah, Atticus was around when this happened, trying to free Zane but failing. But how about instead of just making Jaden freeing everyone, and just only having him, Aster, and Tyranno be the only ones that do anything in Season 2, you have Atticus step up and free his sister as a parallel to what she did for him in Season 1. One of the criticisms with GX people have was that Atticus never really accomplished anything and was just used as a jobber to hype up other characters. So not only would that be a good win for his character, and he'd get a longer duel, it also tied back to their duel earlier in Season 2 where he wanted to be by her side. She saved him back in Season 1, so let him save her in Season 2. So yeah, these are the top 10 Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime duels with the wrong opponents. This is a pretty subjective list, and I'm open to hearing if anyone agrees or disagrees with any of these choices. So leave a like or comment, and heck, even tell me some duels you think had a wrong opponent. And long live the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime!